Hello, everyone. It's James Danielson again. And today's a special day, so there's been some really good things happen today that I want to share with you. But the first thing I'm going to share is the possibility that the West Nile virus and the encephalitis that came with it possibly was a design of God to really bring him closer to me and me closer to him. So today I'm going to share my witness to you. Uh, Way back in the day when the dinosaurs roamed, when I was 21, I came to Christ. I was living alone and I was trying so hard to make a life for myself after my Navy career didn't fizzle out, and I was lost. I didn't know what I was going to do, and I trusted in the Lord that He saved me then when I was 21. And for a while, things were pretty good, except for I wasn't working too much. I had had a child out of wedlock, so I was a little bit shunned by that. But the church family I had in Collingwood Baptist Church in Vancouver, you know, we made some good friends out of that situation. I met Darlene, who we married. I was 23 years old when we married. And, you know, I didn't have a clue what I wanted to do. So, anyway, we had a married life going on. I worked my tail off for a courier company. And, you know, I was up at 5 o'clock in the morning going home and neglecting my wife and doing things that, you know, I thought were good. But in the end, I realized that, you know, I had my own set of problems that I didn't realize I had until later. But anyway, you know, I'm doing the good thing, trying to put a family together, put food on the table, rent, and all that stuff. And she was doing schooling and whatnot. But anyway, we gradually fall away from each other. I was working way too many hours, not doing things that I needed to do in my marriage. So by the time we hit 33, I was worn out and my marriage was on the rocks. We got divorced. And, you know, the big thing about that was, you know, I looked across the fence and, you know, things were not happy at home and things were not happy anywhere. So anyway, we got divorced and I got shunned by the church family again, and that kind of hurt because, you know, that's where all my friends were, or so I thought. Anyway, I moved to Ottawa, Ontario, chasing love after my divorce went final and stuff, and I lost my career job, and again I was lost with no idea what I wanted to do. But I knew that, you know, trucking was something that I always had an interest in. So I went to trucking school in Ottawa, got my license, and hit the road. And I was, you know, working for a guy that, you know, did things not quite right, if you know what I mean. And I lost my fast card because of it. And, you know, it's not something I really want to talk about. But God was not in my picture at that time. Anyway, I ran for another guy out of Whitby, and that got me home a lot more, so I was able to see my dad and my child and stuff. But, I was living largely on my own and not really a part of anything. I was just existing. And, I sorted some stuff out, about who I was and what I was and that kind of thing. And I found myself a little bit, but, I wasn't happy. And slowly but surely, I turned to the Word again and was able to, pray a lot on the road and figure out who I was, while I was driving truck. And I was doing Montreal, Edmonton to Vancouver, go stop to see my dad and whatnot, and then head to California, bring back lettuce to Montreal. So that's what I was doing, and a lot of time in the chair, and me and God were getting closer, but not quite there yet. Anyway, I didn't, I had a gambling problem too, so that was in the way a little bit, where I couldn't save money. I should have been able to save money, but I never did. But anyway, so came back to Canada, and I walked away from that job because he didn't pay me very well. And, I wanted to live in Windsor, I think, and started driving for a guy in Leamington and, tomatoes to New York City or Ohio or whatever. But anyway, it's just one of those things where, I wasn't looking for God. And, in hindsight, I wish I was, but the truth of the matter is that, I was living in my own steam. So anyway, I started to live again and, started to have a little bit of friends around work and stuff like that. And anyway, Leamington kind of fizzled out during the wintertime. So I started driving for George Leppy, and that was a pretty good gig. He paid on time, he paid right. So shout out to George for doing it right there. But I lost that job because the truck broke down and George had a fit. And it really wasn't my fault. But I don't know. I hope maybe he would forgive me one day, but whatever. Anyway, I lost that job. And I was doing some odd jobs around Windsor and trying to figure out if trucking was the thing for me. But still no God. Anyway, I went into Moe's Transport and got a job there, and I've been there ever since. Moe's was bought up by Resmeet and Cartage, and that's my current job right now. Even though I'm in the hospital, I still intend to go back to work there. If they'll have me, which I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but we'll see. But anyway, over the past couple of years, I've been getting really close to God again. I've been reading His Word and trying to think about my witness and what it means. Anyway, it's, something that, you go through and you realize that, God's been there all the way along, propping me up and keeping me safe. Even though I had nothing to do with God, but He kept me safe. There's a couple of incidents I can think of that, I shouldn't be here, but there go I, but for the grace of God. And it's His grace and His goodness and His faithfulness to me that I'm still here. And praise God that I am. And I'm so thankful for the blessings that He's given me in my life. Anyway, that's a little bit of my story with God. And, you know, He has been there for every moment of my life. And it's up to you and me to recognize the fact that God's been there and kept His promises to us. And He is faithful to us. And He will keep you out of harm's way. And I truly believe He has a purpose for me through this avenue of YouTube and possibly even public speaking and turning in my witness and helping others to see how good it is. Anyway, that's my story, and I hope you will pray for me and drop me a comment with your prayer requests, and I'll pray for you. Anyway, I hope you found this informing to understand that a truck driver comes to Jesus. And I've asked for forgiveness. And it's good. All right, anyway, I'll talk to you later. Okay, bye-bye.